So when we say use the remainder theorem, when this is divided by x plus 2, it means when you sub in, that means the minus 2. If you replace x with minus 2, we whack it in, it gives us 34. That is then our remainder. If our remainder was 0, what could you say about x plus 2? It would be a factor. Minus 2 would then be a 0, solution, root, all that sort of stuff. So you're getting used to the language, okay? And a cute little thing to be aware of with this is you can by all means, we'll just pop it there, you can by all means sub it in. What else do you think you could do? What did I get you to do for homework? Oops, too long. Oh, I don't know what's going on with my straight lines today. Clearly, it's not working well. Keita? Minus 3, right. 1, minus 3. Next one. No. 0, because it has to be in order. 4, 3, 2, 1, right? 1, then minus 4, okay? There's no squared there. So that's why don't forget to put the 0 in. All these little things come up, but I have to say I was very tempted to, yes, put 1, 2. Right, so if we're dividing by x plus 2, we're going to pop the minus 2 there. What else do we do next? Do you remember? Excellent. You put the 0 there. Then we add vertically. So 1 plus 0, 1. Then we go minus 2 times 1 is minus 2. We add minus 5. We multiply. Positive 10. Minus 2 times 10 is 20. Minus 21. Now we get positive minus 19. Sorry, I'm trying to predict. Sorry, minus 19. We multiply, we get 38. And lo and behold, what is our remainder here? 34. So you can by all means just sub as they have done here. You can also use your synthetic division to get the remainder. Without even looking at the chapter, Aaron, you can't say because you've already looked at the chapter there, but what do you think could happen? Where can these questions go? Is it constantly going to be, oh, here's all the info, find the remainder? What can you predict good old maths questions would be? There's going to be an unknown. So it could be that suddenly I will say, let's make this k. And when you divide it by x plus 2, the remainder is 34. So you're going to sub, you're going to pop in, you'll be able to find the unknown. All right? Or it's a factor, find k. So then you would know that the remainder has to be 0. Does that make sense? Obviously, no, we couldn't do this one, but obviously with this, we can do the whole, if x plus 2 has a remainder of 0, you could have done the whole equating coefficients because that's code for it's a factor. So stuff that we did earlier, but now you might go, stuff the equating coefficients. I'm just going to go, bango. There might be some A's and B's. So it's up to you. You're going to have those decisions to make as you go through. So for p of x, a real polynomial, write 2 equivalent statements for each. We're going to do that verbally. I think just one each will be fine. P of 2 equals 7. What does that mean? If you divide by x, take 2, it will have a remainder of 7. Get the gist? This is the same thing here. We are dividing by, like imagine if you got rid of that times x plus 3, you divided, right? So if you were dividing by x plus 3, it would have a remainder of minus 8. And that takes us back to what we were talking about when we did the whole long division stuff, right? So when we have, sorry Anne, forgot to have the recording on, but we're basically talking about what we did with division right at the beginning. So you can come and talk to me in class if you don't understand what that is. All right, so that's probably what we're getting jiggy with over here. So this one says, without performing division, find the remainder. Now they're just making you use your skills. Later on, when we do tests and exams, whatever, I'd strongly doubt, they will say, do it this way. You can choose the option. But for now, we're making sure that you've got all those skills. And when you get a little skill sheet from me, you can choose what method you want. And you'll find, Dave, what you do might be different to what Mason does. Okay, so without performing division, what are they actually asking you to do here? Sub, correct. And we're going to get really good with our notation. Where did it go? Up the top. Okay, so you would have labelled your exercise because you're going to need to go back and find where some of this is eventually. When it comes time to revise, you have to find your own work. So make sure it's nice and clearly labelled. So without performing division, find the remainder when. So I would probably write P of x equals x cubed, because I'm not writing the question as such. Pippa. But if you want to, you can. All right, and now I will just write, therefore, P of 1 is, and we'll just substitute in. Does that make sense? You might decide to go, good Lord, I think I get the gist of this question. All I have to now do is replace this with -3 and this with -2. And so you might just do one of them and not both. What's the thing to remember when you are subbing in like a negative? The sign change, and if you're just doing it on your calculator, can you please make sure you use brackets? So a reminder, I had to remind some really cluey year 11s yesterday that -2 cubed is not the same as well, actually it is. What I had to remind them was -2 to the 4 is not the same as -2 to the power of 4. Oh, is not the same, right? Because this one will do the power first, then it puts the minus in front. This one is taking that power to the -4, and so that one will be 16. So be really careful. I think you know what to do, but if you're sloppy using technology, then you get a dodgy answer. Does that make sense? So I can probably, I think I can leave you to it. What's going to happen with question 3? Right, you're going to slap it in and it's going to equal, it has a remainder of 7. So again, what I'm wanting to see, and this goes to when I'm marking your work, I want you to get as many marks as you possibly can. And so sometimes, obviously these questions will get a little bit harder, but if you can at least put the initial understanding down, I can then go, oh yes, I can at least give you some marks for that. All right, so with question A, when it has a remainder of 7, you will say P of 2 equals 7. Yeah? Sub it in, boom, away you go. All right, give you a few minutes. I think you can probably get through a fair bit of this without me too much. You're going to sometimes get where you'll have 2 things, so you might have 2 bits of information. So imagine if there were more unknowns, they could say, yes, this is it, and then they might also say, and P of 3 equals 11. That's if you've got another, let's say they had a B here, right? So what you would end up with is 2 equations with A's and B's solved simultaneously. But that's not the case here, so let's get rid of that. Otherwise that'll confuse you. Go, you good thing. You probably need me in 20. All right, so blah, 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 blah. We're reading. Leaves a remainder. Well, actually, we'll do that. So remainder of 7 when divided by x take 1. So the first thing I'd want you to put down is P of 1. Excellent. Did you write it down? Good. And 129 when divided by x plus 3. Okay, and we want to find n. So using this one, we're going to do the actual subbing. Okay, so that's going to be 2 times 1 to the power of n plus a times 1 squared take 6 equals minus 7. Now, what's 1 to the anything? Right, 1 to the 6. It's 1 times 1 times 1. It's 1. 1 to the 50. It's 1. So that's just going to be 2. So that's a lot of O's that were going on then. So do I have to do any more? Because do you think you've got it from here? Well, if that was a 2 to the n, we might be in a little bit of trouble. That's why it's 1. No. No. Minus 1, minus 3. Did we get minus 3? Okay, and then from here, this gives us so do be careful when you're whacking in your calculator. What? A is minus 3. So get rid of the take 6. Get rid of the take 6 plus 6, you get minus 1. But you've got the 2 here, so get rid of the plus 2, take 2, so A is minus 3. Yeah? And hopefully you know 3 cubed is 27, 3 to the 4 is 81. So this says therefore n equals 4. Otherwise you're going to use logs. Aren't you too? So with this one, when we were dividing by a linear factor, our remainder was always what? What were our choices of? It was always a constant, right? It could be 0, it could be 1, it could be a fraction, whatever, but it was still just a number. Agreed? Well, this is now going to go up a little bit, and you will now, instead of dividing by a linear factor, what happens if you're dividing by a quadratic? So if you're dividing by a quadratic, your remainder could then be linear. Obviously, if I was dividing by a cubic, my remainder could be quaddy. So what's going to happen is when you get to these ones, you have to have your remainders ax plus b, because when you're dividing by 2 of those things, you won't have both of those, and again you're going to end up with possibly a simultaneous situation. Okay? So I'm just aware of the time. What I would like you to do is have a go. If you get stuck with 6 or 7, give me a hoy, but do check the situation there. I don't need you to do 8 and 9. And if we're going onward, exactly the same stuff that you have just been doing, but this time, instead of subbing in, you are going to, seriously, can I have eyes this way? Because if you ask me this next lesson, I'm going to be a little bit annoyed. I lie. I will be very annoyed. So we talked about this. If you're dividing by linear, same thing. We can do it like we did before, but now you can also do it by synthetic division. Why would you want to do that? Well, great question, because some of you go, no, I don't want anything more. I just want to sub it. It's easy. If you have a look at, let's say, question 3, B, it's asking you when z take 2 squared is a factor. Now, trust me, that's going to be a lot easier if you do synthetic division twice. And you can do that, right? So you can do synthetic division. Oh, Promethean man, hello. I'll go back. You can do synthetic twice. So I'm not going to keep flicking back because we haven't got too much time left. So let's imagine we're saying z take 2 squared is a factor, right? So you would put 2 in, 5, 3, m, 1, 6, whatever. You'd put your 0, listening Michelle, because it doesn't look like it, And you'll go through, you'll get your dung, 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 this thing here. If it's a factor once, you know that this thing should equal 0. So it might be the situation that you might have, it might be m plus 5 equals 0. Huzzah! M is minus 5. It might sadly be that it's crazy. It might be m squared plus an m. It could be m squared plus bx. And then you go, too many unknowns, can't do it. But now, because it's a squared, it means that you can go again. And some of your things will disappear, and you've got, again, this last one equals 0. So again, that could be linear, it could be a quadratic, but you know how to solve those things. So don't be shy where you can actually use synthetic division twice. It's also a bonus. What have I got here? Constant x, x squared, x cubed, x to the 4th. The bonus is that once I do this, what have I got then here? This is now a cubic, and let's imagine instead of it being z take 2 squared, what happens if it was z take 2 and z plus 4 are factors? I could now go, just put in minus 4, blump, 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 and this thing here would have to, I can solve this equals 0, this equals 0, that's when I've got my two linears, boom. And you could do that by subbing it in as well, but sometimes this is just cute to see. It depends on what mood you're in. Does that make sense? So when you've got something like this, if it's a thing, I would say synthetic division cute helps. Again, you could go back and try equating coefficients. They will work. It's your job to just play around a little bit, and then when you have it mixed. So when we talk about playing around, there's a skills check in OneNote that you can have a look. Please watch here. Please complete each question in separate columns. Right? So question 1 in one column. Question 2, even if there's space left in question 1, you've got space left in that first column. No, you leave it blank and you go for column number 2. It just makes my marking a lot easier. Some of you want to do, instead of columns, 1 page per. You could do that, but I'm not hunting for the questions. Please make sure that it is done in pen. Clearly it's neat and I can read it. My eyesight's getting worse, kids. Be gentle. Be gentle. It is due Tuesday next week. Now, some of it you can't do. I would suggest that you do before you do your bookwork before you do this. But after that little exercise that we're just doing, that section's pretty much done. Some of you might go, yeah, I'm not going to do 1, but I can do the division, and I'll do that. So suss your time. Please don't leave it all for Monday night and tell me, oh, but I had work, or I had this, I had Mum's birthday. No, you know that's coming. Get onto it. Didn't explain it. Obviously, I didn't explain it properly. So with 6, can we just suss and make sure you understand? P of z is divided by this quad. So technically, now I wouldn't write this. I'm just putting it for you, but if you want to write it so you understand, P of z divided by 3z plus 2, you're going to get some sort of quotient, the answer, plus you'll get this remainder divided by this. However, your remainder can be, it can be linear, right? So z squared take 3z plus 2. In this case, they are saying, yes, the remainder is going to be 4z take 7, right? We're getting there. So therefore, P of z will be Q of z. Now, can I just say for this one, if you factorize that, it will be z squared take 2, z take 2, z take 1. Do we agree? Plus, now your AZ, in this case, it's going to be 4z take 7, right? When you find P of 1, notice, what's 1 here? 1 take 1 will be 0. So you're just going to slap 1 in there. Boom. When it's P of 2, once again, it will still be 0. But for 7, what will happen is that this won't be 0. Well, that will be 0, but here you haven't been given your remainder. So your remainder for question 7 will be AZ plus B. So you will end up, when you're slapping P of 3 and P of minus 1 in, you might end up with, I can't read it now, so you end up with, I don't know, something, so something A plus B equals 8, and then something A, something B equals 4. Linear solve. Simultaneous solve.
And so